Have you ever stopped to think about the language of law? It's this whole hidden world, right? And it's not just about stuffy old words. It's a high-stakes game where, and I'm not kidding, a single comma can cost millions, and one weak word can completely unravel the strongest case you can imagine. So let's dive in and see how it all works.
All right, first up, we're starting with a scenario that I'm pretty sure keeps lawyers tossing and turning at night. It's that moment when a rock-solid argument gets torpedoed, not by the facts, but by their own words.
I mean, just picture it. You've got all the evidence, the law is totally on your side, you are feeling good. But then you phrase your argument in a way that creates just a tiny little crack of doubt, and poof, everything could fall apart. And trust me, it happens way more often than you'd think. Okay, look at this, the power of one tiny word. On the left, you see may have entered. What does that do? It immediately injects uncertainty. It practically invites doubt into the room. It's a hedge. But now look at the right. The accused entered. That's it. It's direct, it's assertive, it's a statement of fact. In a courtroom, that difference is absolutely everything. One sounds like a maybe, the other sounds like the truth.
So how do you get from that weak submission to the strong one? Well, to figure that out, we've got to decode the whole system of legal English itself. Let's pull back the curtain and see how this thing is built.
You know, legal English isn't technically a foreign language, but it might as well be, right? It takes regular, ordinary English and just pushes it to the absolute extreme for a few key reasons. The whole system is basically engineered to kill any ambiguity and to project authority. And believe me, every single word is chosen for a very specific reason.
And here are the nuts and bolts of that system. Formality, that's why you're never going to see can't or won't in a contract. Precision is why words you think you know, like property and possession, have these super specific, locked-in meanings. Impersonality keeps feelings out of it. It's all about the law, not about how somebody feels. And all that repetition you sometimes see. It might look clunky, but it's a critical tool to make sure a word means the exact same thing on page 1 as it does on page 100. And this isn't just for lawyers. These are the principles that shape the contracts you sign every single day.
Of course, we can't really talk about legal language without bumping into some of its history. You see these Latin terms all the time, like prima facie. So when a lawyer says they have a prima facie case, what they're really saying is, look, at first glance, the evidence is so strong that we win, unless you can somehow prove we're wrong.
And then you've got the real cornerstones of justice, like habeas corpus. It's so much more than just a fancy phrase. It's a powerful command from a court to the government, basically saying, show me the person and justify why they're locked up. These ancient words, they still carry incredible power today.
But here's the thing. For all this amazing history, here's the twist. The moments that really make or break a case in modern law, they usually don't come down to some fancy Latin phrase. They often hinge on the simplest, most common words in the English language.
And that right there brings us to the absolute heart of this whole thing, the incredible, sometimes fortune-altering power of a single word.
Just look at this. This right here is where fortunes are made and lost. On the left, the tenant may pay rent. What does that mean? It's permission. It's an option. There's no real obligation there. But on the right, the tenant shall pay rent. That one word, shall, changes everything. It creates a binding, mandatory duty. The entire meaning of the clause transforms from a suggestion into a command. Just think about your own lease, or those terms of service you just clicked agree on. That one-word difference is the whole ballgame.
And as Dr. Sabuj Ahmed, who wrote the source material for this explainer, puts it, a single word can make or break a case, and that word is often a modal. And modals are just those simple little words like may, shall, must, and will. In the world of law, they're not just verbs. They're like light switches that turn duties and rights on and off.
Okay, so now that we get the principles, let's see them in action. Let's take a look at how lawyers use this kind of precision as a tool, or, sometimes even as a weapon.
So, let's take a legal notice. It's not just an angry letter, it's a beautifully structured weapon. The logic is a fortress. First, you state who you are and why you're writing. Simple. Then, you lay out the cold, hard facts, in order, no emotion. After that, you connect those facts directly to the law, making your case airtight. Then comes the demand. Do this by this date. And finally, the consequences. If you don't, here's what happens next. See how each step builds on the last? It creates this formal record that's both incredibly persuasive and, let's be honest, pretty intimidating.
And this is where that precision becomes pure power. The before sentence It's long, it's kind of weak, it's wishy-washy. But just look at the after. It is sharp, it's decisive. It gets rid of a fuzzy term like bad behavior and replaces it with specific legal concepts like misconduct and habitual absenteeism. And it swaps that weak if-then structure for the direct command shall be terminated. That signals an outcome you can't escape. So here's the key takeaway. This isn't just about better writing, it's about stronger law.
So all of this brings us to the real purpose behind all these rules. This isn't just about winning arguments. It's actually about the very idea of justice itself. And I think this quote just perfectly captures the whole philosophy. The strength of legal writing isn't about how many words you can cram in there. It's about using only the words that are absolutely necessary. Every single word has to have a job to do. Because when language is that precise, it creates clarity. And where there's clarity, well, that's where you can have justice.
So we're going to leave you with this one thought to chew on. We usually think of legal language as this complex, confusing mess, right? But what if we've got it all wrong? What if the real goal and the ultimate form of power, not just in law, but maybe everywhere, isn't about being complicated, but about being so clear that you are absolutely, undeniably understood?